Live from the Score Atlanta television studios in North Atlanta, this is Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613.
Happy Wednesday and welcome back to another episode of Georgia High School Sports Daily. I'm your host, Najee Wilkins, along with Craig Sayer. I have another jam-packed show for you guys. We'll be joined by Campbell's head coach, James Gwyn. In our second segment, we'll obviously bring on Tim Scott of the GHSA, talk about the latest developments of the playoffs and latest news and developments there. Also bring on South Paulding head coach Maurice Allen and conclude with Hayden's high school hits. He had a great article on bass fishing, so we'll take a deep dive into that. But Craig, some big results last night. Obviously, North Paulding, we had on Buford head coach Stuart Chester yesterday, but they ended up sweeping Buford, obviously a really talented team. A little bit surprising for me, to definitely need to say the least, for a sweep. But just, you've been following them all year, Craig. What makes North Paulding such a great team?
Yeah, I spoke about this series after the interview. Obviously, Buford has had an incredible team. The strength has been the defense, but I said I felt like North Paulding, even though Buford played Maurice, played Grayson, played a lot of these teams, North Paulding was more battle-tested. They came from the region with Walton, with Etowah, and with a really talented Cherokee team that took Lowndes to 3 games in the first round. That's how deep that region was. So I just felt that North Paulding was probably the most dangerous number 3 seed. They've played in so many 3-game series, and that's another thing. It's when you come from a region like North Paulding and you're playing Etowah in 3-game series, you have to strategize on who's going to pitch game 1, who's going to pitch game 2. Every single one of North Paulding's region games was a 3-game series. Not the same for Buford. They had a lot of tough opponents, but they weren't in that 3-game setting. I just feel like Walton's region, Etowah's region, North Paulding almost swept in the first round, and that just gave me a sign that that is the premier region in the state. And
then obviously you were mentioning too, Craig, off camera about Walton, obviously, and them having a big series win. Just talk about the latest there. I think you said they won 14-2 in their most recent series.
Yeah, so they played a team that I thought was going to be a very tough matchup. Same sort of deal with Buford. It wasn't about disrespecting Buford. I just felt North Paulding was that good. Walton played East Coweta. That was the number 1 seed out of Region 3. They swept Carrollton, had a really hot second half, maybe 2/3 of the season, but Walton jumped all over them, 14-8 in game 1, and then 3-2 in game 2. So that was exactly what Walton would want. I felt like East Coweta was a team that could have made it to the quarterfinals, semifinals, but that was a good test for Walton. So far, we haven't seen any number 1 seeds, I believe, go down in the first round, but then the second round, we're starting to see more of the deep regions knock out these number 1 seeds, and that certainly was the case last night.
100%. Well, guys, there you have this latest results. Obviously, we'll have more tomorrow.
One more to point out.
Yep.
So in terms of these number 1 seeds, so Buford eliminated, East Coweta eliminated, Grayson, number 1 seed out of Region 4, they lost to Brookwood last night, so they're eliminated also. Lowndes was able to hold on, but that was a big win for Brookwood. I want to point that out real quick. Grayson beat Brookwood last year in the state semifinals and then eventually fell to Lowndes. So this is Brookwood avenging that loss, a really talented Grayson team. So definitely watch out for the Broncos, and they'll play Lowndes next in the quarterfinals. Will be a huge matchup.
100%. Well, there you have it, guys. Going to conclude our baseball results. We'll have more results tomorrow. Continue to recap all the playoffs going on in the state of Georgia. But let's go and get into our Fastbreak Headlines, starting at the top. GAC girls tennis topples 3-time defending state champion Wesleyan. Obviously a phenomenal win for them. It was a 3-1 thrilling victory this past week. In the second round of the private school state playoffs, GAC avenged a 5-0 loss earlier in the regular season to Wesleyan, who obviously is a 3-time defending state champion. Freshman Joel Day and sophomore Harper Wynn won the clinching match at number 1, 2 doubles. GAC led 2-1 at the time, and Spartans Ava Hoover and Raina Bakersfield were in the third set of a tight number 1 doubles match. Ella Kemp's win at number 1 singles was matched by Wesleyan's victory at number 2 singles for an early 1-1 tie. GAC's Kinley Conant then won number 3 singles for a 2-1 lead. The Spartans now will face Lovett Galloway, winner in the Elite 8. So shout out to them, obviously. Great job there.
Yes, and we actually do have an update on that one. They will play Lovett. Lovett beat Galloway 3-0. So that would be obviously a huge matchup. These teams have won state titles before in different classifications. GAC was like a 5A school not too long ago. Lovett 2A, but now we've seen them all come together in this private division. That's going to be a really interesting one to watch. And then they'll play the winner of Walker and Holy Innocents.
There you have it. All right, let's go to our next headline. A new hire for North Gwinnett. Brian Anderson is named the new girls basketball coach. Says congratulations to Brian Anderson. He's been named our new head girls basketball coach. Coach Anderson was a head girls coach at Danville High School in Illinois for 5 seasons and an assistant boys coach for 7 years prior to that. So he brings a rich history, obviously, to the program. Obviously, he's been there, done that, and will look to try to turn around that North Gwinnett girls basketball team and get them back up to prominence.
And then I know North Gwinnett's been a pretty talented team. They actually won the tournament, I think me and my sister helped do in 2017, but you went to Norcross. How good has North Gwinnett been typically in basketball, maybe on the girls' side?
It's been some years, I would say. I mean, usually they usually make the playoffs, but it's been some years since they've been like making deep playoff pushes and runs. Historically, kind of the team that would battle against Norcross, you would see like the Carrolltons of the world, obviously. North Paulding will be a team that Norcross will always face and go against. Brookwood, obviously, as well. But it's been a little while for North Gwinnett going up against Norcross, just in terms of just that relevancy.
Yeah, I feel like Norcross has kind of been that standard program on the girls' side, and I've seen North Gwinnett have solid years, but yeah, I feel like that's the goal, get them over that hump, and we'll see how Coach Anderson's able to do. All right, we got headline 3, another GAC story. Greater Atlanta Christian announces the hire of Skepter Brownlee as its new head basketball coach. He will join the GHSA family as the new head boys coach. Coach Brownlee brings over a decade of collegiate coaching experience, including 6 years as a high school head coach, and he has a strong commitment to player development. Saw this news on social media. Najee, have you heard anything else about Coach Brownlee?
No, I just seen the announcement obviously on social media, but I know GSC has been a little while since they've been, same kind of thing, just deep into the postseason, but a program that produces talent at a high level. You look at Malcolm Brogdon, who came through the program a few years ago, who's obviously made it to the NBA. So they know how to produce talent. It's been a while since they've been kind of that relevant team when it comes to just the GHSA state playoffs and the tournament. But Coach Brownlee obviously is a great player developmental coach. He knows how to get guys to that next level and playing at a high level as well. So I think he's going to bring really good pedigree there to the Spartans.
Yep, very interesting. Yeah, GAC, I feel like they were really good 10 years ago. Is that when they had Isaiah Wilkins, maybe?
I think so.
Yeah, I forgot where he ended up winning, but they had an outstanding program. All right, headline 4, Pope boys get by Sequoia in overtime. It took OT, but Pope outlasted Sequoia 10-9 to advance to the second round of the Division II Lacrosse State Tournament. This game was on Monday at Pope. The teams traded punches all night, with Pope attacker Charlie Lehman making the difference as he found a cutting Carson Kohler for the game-winning goal in the sudden death overtime period. Coach Carl Paff talked about it was just a regular offense. We don't run it from behind a lot, but Lehman said he won the ball, he got it, and then delivered. Pope improved to 9-9 on the season, and Sequoia dropped to 7-11. This overtime loss was a tough pill for Sequoia. They have had 6 one-goal losses this season, so pretty heartbreaking result for Sequoia. They've been so close this year, but definitely something to build off on next year with all those close losses. All right, headline 5, Mason Gazaway completes record-setting baseball career at Marietta. Mason Gazaway hit a new level for the Marietta baseball team this season, breaking several program records. He broke the single-season hits record with 42, beating the previous mark of 39. The season stolen base record with 32, the previous record was 28, and the career stolen base record was 75. The old one was 61. All 3 marks were previously held by Chris Evans, who set them from 2004 to 2006. Gazaway broke the career hits mark of Billy King with 101, set in 2004 by hitting a new mark this year with 107. He also finished the season with a .509 on-base percentage, which ranks 3rd in program history.
All right, final headline, Pope girls lacrosse, they get past Woodstock. Obviously a great win for them in the opening round. Blythe Knowles and Lauren Ebersol led the Greyhounds with 7 and 6 goals respectively as they held firm throughout the contest. This is via their head coach. They worked hard and hustled, Pope head coach Michael Mitchell said. That's the biggest thing out there on the field. You have to give 100% effort at all times. I think they showed that. We had a couple of turnovers that we have to clean up. For the most part, I was pleased with the effort that they put out there tonight. The Greyhounds jumped ahead 4-0 in the first 9 minutes, spearheaded by 2 goals from Noyes before Woodstock cracked the scoreboard with under 2 minutes remaining. Pope led 7-1 heading into the second quarter, where the Wolverines struck first on a goal from Cadence Carlock. However, Knowles responded with 2 straight scores over a 5-minute span as the Greyhounds pulled ahead 9-2. They took the advantage 10-2 into halftime. Here's their coach. When you get a lead like that, you really want to hold the ball for 2 to 3 minutes before you go to score. Mitchell said, if you turn the ball over, you give them a chance to come back. But if you possess the ball, you can shorten the game. Once you get a big lead like that, you want to hold on to it and get good shots.
Yep, and they will play, it looks like, North Oconee next. What do you think just about Pope? I feel like they've had a really great school year overall, but this lacrosse team and what they've done so far in the playoffs.
Yeah, they've been competitive. I'm pretty sure they're one of the top teams I have in the rankings. They had a big matchup early in the year when they played against, obviously, Chattahoochee, Craig. Came up just a little bit short, but obviously great win in opening round. But Norfolk Oconee is a team that's been competitive this year. So they definitely had their work cut out. But I think Pope with Knowles, obviously, and some of their attack is going to be very special and tough to handle. So I definitely have them going far. I think you can see them go quarterfinals or even semis.
Very interesting. And then looks like Milton be on the other side of the bracket. You got potential Roswell matchup. It should be pretty interesting in this Division II. Do you feel like the classification might be the biggest story this year in lacrosse? Just
100%.
Yeah,
well, you got like Milton and last year all in that same Division II, and then you look at Division III, obviously, and then with West Forsyth, feels like it's their title to lose. But who's going to emerge as the contender, to your point, Craig, just to be able to beat Milton?
Yep, should be a good one. Remember, there's 3 classifications, but the playoffs have started, and ScoreATL.com has all the coverage. Seth did a great job last night updating those scores.
There you guys have it. All right, coming up after the break, an exclusive interview with James Gwyn of Campbell to get the latest update of what's going on with, obviously, the Campbell Spartans and the boys basketball team.
Great teams are committed, focused on the details, and work hard to be their best. From practice to games, right down to their gear. Your field is a critical part of the game that allows your athletes to showcase their athletic abilities. Sports Turf is committed to bringing your team innovative sports surfaces with unparalleled performance. You bring the vision. Our team brings it to life.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Man, you know how to do this? Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with the advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. I'm your host, Nigel Wilkins, along with James Gwyn of Campbell. Excited to have him on the show. Just talk about the latest that's going on with, obviously, Campbell Spartans and just get the latest updates. But real quick, I just want you to walk through just the process. I know you and obviously Coach Randy McClure lost your jobs, got reinstated. Just walk me through the process of how everything has been since then.
Well, since the reinstatement, we've really just been scrambling back, trying to get, plan for the summer and, to communicate with the parents and the students. So it's, just really getting back to what we just love to do, coach and work with the kids. But it's been, we've had to do some catching up. We were behind a little bit, had to do some catching up and letting the kids know what was going on because many of them were still inquiring and concerned about what was going to happen. So hopefully now we can start officially playing the summer and letting them know what we want to start to do when school's out.
For sure. And then if you can, Coach, just share about just the community effect. They really, rose behind you, obviously, over 4,000 petitions. Just how important was that, just helping you guys out and just the constant support you guys had?
Well, that just showed that what we've done was recognized and really appreciated by the community. It's really overwhelming how many people, how many calls, texts, emails we got since this process began. And I think that was a big part of making everything happen. And I think that encouraged when the superintendent launched an investigation, really appreciated that. I just think all of it was a factor. And I think that community support, certainly, I think they felt like their voices were heard.
For sure, 100%, Coach. And then I just want you to just talk about just your guys' impact, not just on the court, but off, just some of the success stories you guys have had, just, training kids and getting them ready for the next level, not just in basketball, but also life.
Well, that's really what sports is about. It's really a life-developing activities that can teach you. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some, ups and downs, and we try to use athletics and sports to really prepare the kids for life. And really with some of the communication that I received, from players I may not have heard from in 15, 20 years. One was an Air Force veteran, and he just said, "Hey, you made a big impact on my life." He actually had been to the Air Force Academy, and he was a fighter pilot. He says, "Coach, it's just, even though it's a little different in combat, you're still working against other people and other humans and other things that you have to play into." And it just some of the contact from the former players really just, it's, "Hey, you've helped me with my life. The ball's going to stop bouncing sometimes."
Yes, sir.
And if you can prepare them for life and you hear back from them and then you feel like you've done something, that's priceless stuff.
Yes, sir. And if you don't mind sharing, Coach, just what are some key principles? Just walk me through, hey, I'm a freshman student. I want to come play for your basketball team. What are some things you're going to hold me accountable for that I have to do, not just in the classroom, but also on the court as well?
Well, main thing, trying to communicate, even as you're working towards something that might be successful, it may not, there's going to be some adversity and some pain along the way. Getting there. A lot of times success is painful along the way. It's things that you maybe don't want to go through, but you make your decisions. And behind the scenes, a lot of people or fans don't see the preparation and the things they come out and they watch a game and they either critique you or applaud you on the game. But there's so many things behind the scenes, and whether it's in the weight room, whether it's coaches pushing you a little bit, coaches maybe getting on to you, encouragement, all of that, just factors in. And we try to let them know that you want to look at the whole picture and not just we're kind of in we want things quickly.
Yes, sir. We are microwave.
Well, that's what we want. It's
Yes,
not going to be that way. And you try to, and even if you finally look at the stories of a lot of the great athletes that have performed well and had success, they'll tell you about all the bumps in the road that they had. And you say you're going to have them.
Yes, sir.
And if you can kind of communicate that, maybe that will help build their perseverance and their resiliency to get through things.
Yes, sir.
Because you're not always going to have the yellow brick road.
No, you're not. No, like you said, it's going to be bumpy. You're going to have to navigate through it. And then if you can, Coach, walk me through a practice. What is practice like at Campbell High School when you guys are running? You got the guys in the gym, they're working hard, hitting the weight room. What's a practice like at Campbell?
Well, it's typical. We'll start with, we typically start drills early, and then we'll go to kind of a conditioning phase. And as a coach, I like to condition with a basketball.
Yes, sir.
If we can. Sometimes we have to condition without a ball if things don't go well. But we'd rather condition with a basketball and then move more to our X and O things toward the end of practice. But obviously at the beginning of the year, you're going to have more conditioning. But I just feel like more conditioning with the ball is important for us. And sometimes you have to put the balls up. But, the end of practice is more your X and O. And before you really start planning for games, obviously as you get more into the season, you have to have more of a scouting part of practice as well. So you're preparing, you're looking at the personnel that you're going to face, and we're, doing more scheming for that. But it's the kids normally pretty much understand the routine, and then we tell them if we're not going to push hard with the ball, then we're going to do conditioning in other ways.
Yes, sir.
Because you have to be in great shape to play this game, and and eventually, if you're not, that's going to show up too.
For sure. And then, Coach, obviously, I just want to ask you just about Stephen Ragsdale, who's the superintendent. You hinted on it a little bit, but it's the way to mean to have that support for him because, he was a higher up, but he decided to launch the investigation, which eventually helped you guys get it. And then what have you guys been doing since that point, since you've been reinstated, to kind of get back in with the kids?
Well, just meeting with them and letting them know that, these were adult things we were dealing with, but hey, y'all, we're going to be okay. And just reassuring them that, they didn't have to overreact to anything. And usually kids are pretty flexible in the long run once they just know what's in front of them.
Yes, sir.
But we basically meet with them, and also we've had to individually, we're going to try to have matter of fact, tomorrow, we're going to have a parents meeting and a full players meeting tomorrow, and that would give them some specifics. And hopefully at that time, I'll have a little more details on what our summer schedule is going to be.
Okay, yeah. You guys can let me to kind of one of my last questions, just kind of how your summer schedule was going to look. But just walk me through how a usual summer is, maybe for Campbell. What do you guys usually do?
Well, usually we, the end of May, we start practicing and we try to do some evaluations, and then most of June we're doing something every day, either a practice or a team camp, meetings, maybe some videos. But most of June we're busy, and we try to prepare them for that because I know a lot of them are working, and we try to give them the schedule. We try to do most of our stuff in the evening if we're not in a game situation. Most of our practice is going to be in the evening because some of the kids are trying to work, so we're trying to be sensitive to that. But we want to let them know how important it is to participate in the summer because we can maybe give you a little bit longer of a look.
Gotcha.
Sometimes during the summer.
Yes, sir.
And we're not, we want to win games and we want to play well, but that's not our end result, is to have a great record at the end of the summer. We want to be prepared at the end of the summer.
Yes, sir. And then my final question for you before we wrap, Coach, I just want to, ask just a little bit about, just 1,200 career wins, right? 16 region championships. Just how do you guys, you guys have went through different generations. I know it's a little harder now to resonate with the kids now. Just how do you guys continue to just be able to get the best out of these kids on the court?
Well, we feel like we've been consistent, and obviously some of the methods have changed in terms of the technology and the communication. The video things have improved, so you can do little different things in some of the video products now, give you your stats.
Yes, sir.
Give you, what did you do on the drive. So you got some specifics. Some of those things really just save you time. We were doing the same things years ago in terms of getting numbers and getting some of the indicators off of video, but now they're just helping us with some of those things. Hey, how'd you do on every offensive rebound? Before we had to chart it. So some of that's a time saver for the coaches. And that helps you. And then also now the kids can get on the videos themselves as well now. And they can look at stats and, hey, let me look at all my shots, or look at all my rebounds, or all my steals, or whatever. So they can use it. And we encourage them to do that. So the technology has changed, but just the principles of you got to prepare yourself to play. And we try to, you don't have as many multi-sport athletes now anymore. So everybody's specializing, or more people are, baseball is you're playing all year round. Basketball now it's year round. Soccer, so without the multi-sport athletes, and that, it seems like that's a thing of the past. You really got to be special now to play this game. You got to be special.
100%.
And that's what we try. You have to be special now to get recruited.
Yes.
Recruiting has changed a lot, even with the things with the transfer portal and not having to sit out a year, and all those, now the JUCO years are, there's a lot of things now. But to get recruited now out of high school, you have to be a really, really special player.
100%.
And we want to make sure we communicate that to the players and the parents, that nobody's just going to slip through the cracks. When people are, if they're going to recruit a 20-year-old player with college experience, he's going to look better than a 17, 18-year-old out of high school. So we want to really make sure we communicate some of those changes that have happened in the last few years, because kids still have their goals and their aspirations of things they want to do. So we want to, the communication piece of it probably has really increased a lot more over the years than it maybe did at one time.
For sure. Well, Coach Gwyn, I want to say congratulations. We're super excited to have you back here in GHSA and obviously coaching in the state of Georgia. Well-deserved. Obviously, the gymnasium is named after you guys, and you guys do great work out in Campbell. But, guys, we're going to do it for this segment. We'll have more coming up after the break.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. Transform your future today. And by Smart Local 85. Sheet metal is a smart move.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. It is now time to bring on the GHSA Director, Tim Scott, to get the latest of what's going on at GHSA. Hey, Scott, how's everything going?
Hey, man, it's going well. How are you guys?
Doing good. Glad to have you back on the show once again. Just want to get your quick recap, Tim, and just the gymnastics, obviously, championship that happened this past week. Just what's your thoughts overall on that and just how that was handled?
Listen, Penny and does a great job with that. The schools, Buford hosting. It's a really nice event, and they did a really good job. Some really talented young ladies in those events.
For sure. And then I just want to ask you just a little bit about just the power rating system in terms of just girls soccer. We've seen a lot of the higher end seeds ended up beating, obviously, the lower tier seeds. Just your thoughts on just how that's been working out and just the other sports, specifically soccer.
Well, I mean, I think the power rankings work well. We've had a lot of coaches talk to us about power rankings versus just 1 through 4 in region seeding for sports. So that is something that the reclassification committee is discussing, and we'll just kind of see where that goes. But there's seems to be quite a few coaches that really like the power rankings because it levels it up across the state. And where some regions may be a little tougher in some sports than others. And so it gives you an opportunity to get the better teams in the playoffs.
For sure. And then before I bring in Craig, I just want to ask you just any lingering issues you see potentially, Tim, that might be addressed just obviously in these after the season are over, just meetings after the school year concludes that may discuss. You obviously mentioned the power rate system being something that a lot of coaches like. Anything else you first see possibly being discussed?
Oh, well, absolutely. The reclassification, competitive balance and some of those other models. We'll be discussing those during the summer. We're trying to have a decision for the fall. So a lot of discussions like that. And of course, our office is going to make sure we're meeting with the National Federation to make sure we're following the latest guidelines in sports safety and things that we need to know that way as well.
And Tim, I want to ask you about the track and field sectionals coming up and just what the discussions were like in order to come up with a model that works. So we talked about power ratings have been used to separate Class 3A, 2A, Division 1, as well as private. In track and field, it's a little different, though, because you have the sectionals that are going to break off by region, and it looks like private has its own 2 sectionals, but just 2 regions in each one. Is this the first year that they've done something like that, having a separate private sectional?
Yeah, it is, and so we'll just have to see how that works out and how things go. Again, it's if it were up to me, I would love to see privates back in with publics. Like we've had in the past, but this is part of our reclassification cycle right now, and that's what we're going to work through.
Yeah, and it seems like that is the only really feasible model that would have worked. It's interesting, you're going to have 31 private schools in the 2 sectionals for that, but for comparison, in Class A Division I, there's 58 total schools. So it might be more difficult in Class A Division I to qualify for state, but then it ends up sorting itself out. Obviously, once you get to state, you're going to have the best time or best results. I want to ask you about the news that came out of Alabama, them creating a task force to, I think the big thing was just to track the transfer data throughout the state using ADs, coaches, just to get that, database to see what the trends are. In terms of like a first step, has the GHSA ever thought about having data to just track the movement in the state?
Well, we do have data on how many transfers a school gets, so we could look at a particular school. Let's just take you where I was superintendent. If I wanted to look at Dalton High School, I could tell you how many transfers that they received. So we do keep that data, and we look at that data. Our technology, Jim Bullington takes care of it, and it's set up where we can track all of those kind of things. Number of homeschool students you may have that come to participate, number of transfers, and so yeah, we do track that data. And I know Heath over there in Alabama, they're looking at quite a few things, and he and I talk frequently.
Yeah, we've seen some of the teams that have, I guess, got hung up in the transfer rules or broken them have come when a coach leaves and then a player goes with them. But just kind of refresh us what a bona fide move looks like and what the current rules are and if there's any changes to that and how difficult or maybe easy it is for them to do the move correctly.
Well, according to the Constitution, a bona fide move is when you leave a residence, the whole family unit. So if you're in there and it's your mom, your dad, your brother, and your sister, then mom, dad, brother, and sister has to move to a new unit. If you're selling a house, then that house has to be up for sale. All unnecessary utilities have to be cut off, and it has to be up for fair market value. It can't be leased to family members and that kind of stuff. So that would be a bona fide move. Of course, if you lease an apartment, you have to terminate the lease in the apartment you're in, and you would move to a new house or new rental property that way. So that would be a bona fide move. And you have to move to a new service area in order to be eligible. Now, we are discussing about tightening those a little bit, and there's some things that we can do that hopefully will make that a little tighter. Is when you move, Georgia says within 30 days you have to change your driver's license. Well, we may ask that as part of the Form B that they would have to upload if they're transferring. Also, we can also go through and it's not a hardship, but after the first bona fide move in a 4-year period, we could ask the family, hey, what is the reason for the second move? And it could be they're upsizing, downsizing, but at least we get an idea that, because we don't want to move that's just strictly for athletic purposes.
Then last point before I throw it back to Najee, are there any restrictions on like the timetable for when someone can move, like how close it is to the season or semester?
Not how close, as long as they get there before the season starts. Now, one of the things that we're working on that we hope to pass by fall is the current bylaw is if you start a season at a school, you have to finish the season at that school. You can't move during the season and be automatically eligible. You could appeal that and be eligible, but you have to do that. But there is no time period other than if you make a move, you have to be in a residence for 12 months before you make another move and be eligible.
Well, there you have it. Obviously, I believe that's all the time we have. Tim, we appreciate you coming on. And if you guys are at home watching, you always ask, what is a bona fide move? Obviously, Tim, the GHSA director, explained in grave detail today what a bona fide move is and what it looks like. So definitely play this back so you know that you're making the right move. Thank you so much, Tim.
Hey, guys. Thank you. Have a great week.
Yes, sir. You too. All right, guys. Coming up after the break, we'll have an exclusive interview with South Paulding's head coach, Maurice Allen.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting 6 figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of the battle? will you still train like a champion in pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrician. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. Remember, you can catch the show on the Atlanta News First app, the CBS Sports local streaming app, Zeem, and on the Peachtree Sports Network via YouTube TV. So, Craig, obviously we're going to talk to South Paulding. I think we just got him on. So let's go ahead and welcome on Coach Allen.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, Coach? How's everything going?
Blessed. How are you guys?
Doing good, Coach. So I kind of want to just start from just last season, Coach. Obviously, I had you guys as a preseason top 10 in our Score Atlanta rankings, Coach. I know it didn't go how you wanted, but just what was your biggest message to your group from last year, Coach, to just continue to improve and kind of take that big jump this year?
Yeah, big thing for our guys is we knew we were really junior heavy. This year we returned 10 of 11 on offense and 6 of 11 on defense. And I just told them that to understand that we had a ton of potential, but we had to execute on it, and that we really had to go into work this offseason, pound the pavement in the weight room, and put those daily deposits in so we can cash in the fall. We lost 3 games by less than 7 points and 2 games by less than 2. So we've been through the fire, so now it's time to rise through it.
Speaking of through the fire, obviously, how is this spring looking like, Coach? When do you guys begin practice if you haven't already?
Yep, we actually kick off today. Today at 4:30. We'll be on the field, and the boys are fired up. We had a leadership meeting this morning, and I'm excited and ready to see what we've got. Made some new additions to the staff and feel really good about those guys, and looking forward to a great spring.
And speaking of those additions, Coach, I know you hired a new offensive line coach, if I'm not mistaken. Just talk about how excited you are for him to come in with those big guys and get them going in the trenches.
Yeah, so we return our entire offensive line, and 3 of those guys I think have an opportunity to go play. Really, I think all of them have the opportunity to go play at the next level, and 3 of them already hold offers. So we hired a new offensive coordinator who's got 19 years of experience coming from North Carolina. Has been a head coach, an AD, and an offensive coordinator for the past 19 years. And then I hired an offensive line coach, Coach Locke, who will be joining us, who was part of Harrison's state championship run. He's got 15 years of offensive line experience. So I feel really good about the staff, and with the group that we have coming back, returning 10 of 11, I think is really uncommon. So to have the experience of the coaching staff and then the experience of those kids playing together, I feel really good about the spring and walking into next year.
For sure. And then last question before I throw it to Craig, I just want to ask you about the quarterback, Cade Wiggins. I know that's kind of where everything starts for you guys. Had a productive season last year. We got to see him in the Corky Kell Day Hunter Classic. Just what's your thoughts on just his progression and growth throughout his prep career?
Yes, I think, every day he comes in and he's a worker. Pound for pound, he's one of the strongest kids. He's probably got the best clean form in the program. He's also doing triple jump, and I think he triple jumped 41. And then this offseason's been big for him, just challenging him to be that vocal leader. He does everything right on and off the field, but really trying to get him to lead vocally, because the kids will listen to him and they'll respond well to him. And then he's really taken it upon himself to really develop even more as a passer. He's gotten with our new offensive coordinator, and he's really coming along. He's so strong in his lower half, so he's really learning how to use his lower half and put a little bit of extra on the ball when he needs it, and then throw some balls with touch, which I think he does so well.
And then, Coach, I want to ask you about this offensive line. Having so much talent returning this season, I think it's year 3 for you. How does that just maybe permeate throughout the entire team, just in terms of the physicality you guys are going to be able to bring this year?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we've talked about being physical all year. We've changed what we've done in the weight room and just really try to pack on the muscle. And that offensive line unit is so close together. Even with the defensive line unit, they're so close and they do everything together. And we've talked about controlling the line of scrimmage. Both my coordinators are putting a big emphasis on the offensive and defensive line. And that's kind of where we're going into this year. We know that's a strength of ours, and we've got to be able to control the line of scrimmage, stop the run, and then run the ball. So that's been a big emphasis. And I think returning those guys on both sides of the ball, and especially that offensive line unit that's been playing together now for 2 to 3 years, is huge for our success going forward.
Then you were mentioning the weight room. I know you're certified to not only speed and agility, also the weight room. What are some things that you guys have maybe brought to the table since you've arrived at South Paulding? How's that been paying off?
Yeah, big thing. We've just been trying to compete in everything we do, whether it be our March Madness or whether it be moving some of our racks around. We'll max every, 4 to 6 weeks, and then we'll shuffle the racks around based on how strong everybody is. And right now we're in a phase of where we're just trying to, we went to a pyramid and we're kind of going heavy percentage and going low reps, and we're trying to pack on as much muscle as we can and get as strong as we can, and as well as do our running scheme. And so, yeah, I feel like in the weight room, we just try to challenge and breed competition in there. And there's a ton of energy. And I really pitch that to our kids that you've got to have energy and it's got to be contagious.
And then what are some of the goals that drive you guys? Is it winning the region title? Is it maybe a big region game against East Paulding, another rival? Or is it winning the opener? What's kind of on the bulletin board at South Paulding?
Yeah, we talk about, in school's history, and I think it's always been kind of circled. School history, we've never beat North Paulding. So I think that's one that the kids always get excited for. And I think we've got an opportunity. They're an amazing program, great team. I think we've got an opportunity to compete with them. But obviously the Corky Kell, being able to we're playing this year, Wednesday, we get to play a great team. A friend of mine, Coach May over there at Kell, great program. So I think we've got that one circled where we get to come out and be one of the first high school football games in the state or in the United States, and that one circled. And then I think the region championship, we talk about it daily and talk about those daily deposits, and trying to win the region championship is the end goal, and hopefully make a deep playoff run and hopefully meet you guys in the bins.
Yes, sir. And then, Coach, I want to ask you just a little bit about just in general, just weight training. I feel like people don't always dive into it, but let's say I'm a player for you, Coach. I'm about 175. I want to get to about 190 over the off season. I want to gain some muscle. I don't want it to be fat, but I want it to be muscle. What would a workout regimen for me kind of look like to get there, and so I'm ready for the season?
I think the biggest thing is it comes to nutrition, and that's been an emphasis of ours this off season, where we're incorporating some new things such as critical reload, and then we feed our guys peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and we have snacks set up in designated classrooms with some of our coaches that are in the building, and we're always trying to fuel them with good fuel for their bodies. And then in the weight room, it's about just straining and really we prescribe percentages, and we give workouts, and we ask that you follow the percentages, and if you follow the percentages and you really buy into the program and you lift what you're supposed to lift, I think you'll see the natural gain. One of our offensive linemen played around 265 and stepped on the scale last Saturday at MVP at 291.
Wow.
So he bought into the weight room and bought into the nutrition piece of it, and I'm excited for him and his growth.
For sure, Coach. That's an awesome story. What was the offensive lineman name?
Tyler Chikuya.
Tyler Chikuya. That's an awesome story, Coach. And then I want to ask you, just from your standpoint, I know you guys probably watch a lot of film. How is maybe just these percentages and these analytics come kind of into play for you guys on a high school level when you're just evaluating, let's say, on a Friday night, a game against Kell, or a Friday night a game against North Paulding? How do you guys usually just evaluate maybe your program?
Yeah. We look at, things like one thing for our offense, we use a 12% rule. We try to be under 12% drive killers, which are false starts, turnovers. And the studies show that if you keep your drive killers below 12%, you win, I think it's like 78% of your games. So that's the one thing that we focus on. And then defense is big on third downs and getting off the field on third downs. And then I know our offensive coordinator, offensively, he's trying to get 21 first downs and really step on the gas and try to get the defense to play another 3 downs. So I would say all the analytics, and I'm not huge into analytics, and it's something that I'm getting better at. And I know my defensive coordinator is huge into analytics. But I think it definitely has a place in the game, and it's definitely got it's valuable information when used accordingly. I think sometimes you can look at it and kind of get swamped or kind of have too much information. So it's just trying to weed through and find out exactly what translates to winning or translates to positive production, whether it be rushing yards or attempts or, I think some people go and have a big book like they do in college, and obviously they have a lot more helps and can dive into the analytics a little bit more. But it's something that we're looking into this season and trying to get a little bit better at.
For sure. And then, Coach, I'll be remiss if I didn't ask you about the defense and just key players to watch this upcoming season that's going to be making a big mark for you. I know you returned 6 of 11, though.
Yes. So we actually get our inside linebacker, Joakim Gudu, who's been a 2-year starter, back-to-back 70 tackles each year. He'll be a class of 27 kid. We return both corners. We get one of our defensive linemen back that actually didn't get to play last year, who we thought was going to have an amazing year, Jaquan Harris. He ended up tearing his ACL. He's come back. He's cleared. He looks great. He's every bit of 265, 270 now, and is bending well and running well. And then also that linebacker core, with Joakim, we have Jaleel Shakir, and then we have Lucas Hayes, which I think are going to be standout backers for us. All were great players for us, and they're all athletic, and they're looking to stop the run.
For sure. Well, Coach, as always, man, we appreciate you coming on, talking about the South Paulding Spartans. Hopefully it's a great spring for you guys, and we hope to see you soon, Coach.
I appreciate you guys. Hope you have a blessed day.
Yes, sir. Have a blessed one, Coach. All right, guys, coming up after the break, we have Hayden on for his high school hits to talk about bass fishing. All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Day. We have on Hayden Gilbert now to talk about a little bit about bass fishing. He did an article on squirreltail.com. Make sure you guys go and subscribe. Remember that we also have a newsletter that comes out every Saturday morning that recaps all the great stories that we do. So, guys, make sure you obviously subscribe right there. Sign up for our weekly High School Sports Reports newsletter landing in your inbox every Saturday morning with breaking news, recruiting updates, classification blogs, and more. Scan that QR code right there. All right, Hayden, so great article on Squirreltail by you. I want to talk about that first first location. I know you were mentioning in your article about 4 more pounds than what we've seen in the year previously. So what do you think there was maybe the biggest difference in the bass that was caught there?
I think when you look at Lake Oconee, which was where the first tournament was, it's a very shallow lake. It's not a lake that, I think that they should adjust the schedule a little bit if you're going to have Lake Oconee on the schedule. That that February time is when, with that shallow lake, it's really tough to have a good day fishing. With this year, it was a really warm weekend. Everything just kind of lined up right to have a really good weekend of fishing.
And then I want to actually remember I think it was early February, maybe March. Just correct me if I'm wrong, Hayden. But I remember we had one of the meets got canceled because obviously weather. Do you think that played a factor with it leveling out a little bit in the other locations potentially?
I don't think really that had too much to do with it. That's normally is a really strong lake because of the time. It's the perfect time of year. It's during the middle of the spawn. It's just really good fishing down at Lake Seminole in South Georgia. I think it's really helped some of these guys that may not be able to normally make it in because they're not at the top of some of these other lakes, that were able to make it in because they added, I believe, 25 spots from those other 3 lakes that they fished.
For sure. And then I'm going to bring you in, Craig. I just want to ask one more. Lake Lanier, first time it's going to be hosted there since 2022. Just your thoughts on that venue and maybe the potential bass we'll see being caught.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot different than a lot of these other lakes that are fished. It's more like a mountain lake. It's a large lake. It's the largest lake completely within the state, but it fishes more like the small mountain lakes of northeast Georgia. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys translate from these bigger, more traditional lakes to this large lake that doesn't fish like a large lake.
Interesting.
And then I think you were talking about going out there. What time does this event start? Typically, how long are the fishers out there?
So I believe it's about 8 hours. They start first thing in the morning. It's going to be from, I believe, blast-offs around 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. And then in weigh-ins kind of at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's gonna be interesting to see how the day goes. I'm not sure what the fishing's gonna be like. We're in this weird time where you could be in the middle of the spawn, or the spawn could be over, and you're gonna have to go out and find the fish and fish differently.
Yeah, and then what excites you just about this format? Obviously, you enjoy fishing, but just the competitive aspect of it, and just all the different boats. I think over 100 that are going to be out there.
Yeah, I think there's about 110, a little bit. I think what's exciting is this is the first time in years that it's been at Lake Lanier. The first year the championship was at Lake Lanier. And because they got rid of the closest lake to it off the schedule in Lake Hartwell, you now have this lake that's unlike any other lake that's on the schedule. It's really going to push some of these anglers to their limits.
Interesting. And you've fished probably at Lake Lanier multiple times. Any advice or what you would do out there?
It's going to be tough. If the spawn's still on, you're going to go out. You should go out and you should go bed fish. You should find where the fish are getting ready to spawn and getting ready to guard their fry. If the spawn has already happened, you're probably gonna have to go out to some of these points and find where the big female bass have left their beds and are now going out and going back to their summer, to where they should be in the summer. And
is that something you have to wait until the day of to determine if that's happened or not? Is that something you can pick up on and adjust?
If some of these guys, especially the ones that live close to Lake Lanier like I do, if they've had time to go out there and pre-fish and to figure out what's going on, they may have an advantage in that they may know more of what the bass are doing, but to some extent, you're just going to have to go out there and see if you can find the bass.
In your opinion, how important is maybe pre-fishing a little bit to get the temperature of the environment?
I think it's really important. I think if you because of how qualifying is, where all you have to do is qualify at one lake, some of these guys that maybe qualified at Oconee if they've been able to go to Lanier over the past 2 months and fish every weekend or multiple times, they could have a huge advantage over some of these guys that haven't had a chance to go out there and fish.
And then I'm not going to ask you to pick who's going to win out of the 120, but do you have any predictions just on the total bag weight and what we might see in the championship?
I think at least the top 10 is going to be close to that high 16, 17 pound. I think it's going to be pushing 20 pounds to win this tournament.
Yeah, I think since 2022, I think I've seen maybe twice or once where someone hit that 20-pound mark, and that is very rare.
Yeah, it takes a really good day of fishing, but I think just like last year when it was over that 20-pound mark, I think this year we'll see it again because the fishing is shaping up to be around that mark.
And I think you're going to be there, Hayden. Just real quick as we wrap up this segment, just what's kind of your overall plan that you want to have and that you're going to do when you go?
So I'm going to get there. I'm going to experience weigh-in. I'm going I'm gonna experience everything. I'm gonna get pictures of everyone. I'm just gonna enjoy myself, and I'm gonna hopefully get to talk to some of these guys after they fish and see how the fishing was.
There you have it, guys. And remember, guys, it starts at 7 a.m. Weigh-ins are at 3 p.m. So Hayden Gilbert of Score Atlanta will have the full coverage as well and talk about the latest, obviously, there. And we'll recap it on Monday. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's show. We'll see you same place, same time tomorrow at 12 to 1 p.m. right here on the Preacher Sports Network. Have a great rest of your day.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off. Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Beginning the morning you opened your eyes, we spent every waking moment preparing you for the day you'd leave our nest. Whether it's driving to practice or helping with homework, it's all prepared you for, what am I going to be when I grow up? Will you be ready?
After much thought, I made my decision to take my talents to the IBEW Local 613.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is not simply a job, it's a career. Visit IBEW613.org to begin a new future today.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Are you interested in becoming a deputy or a jailer? The Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office is hiring and looking for individuals passionate about protecting and serving their community. If you are 18 years or older, join our team by visiting GoGCSO.com for more information. Gwinnett County, together we can make a difference.